Qatar Airways is a global airline that transports on average around 40 million passengers per year, with many of these passengers transiting through or making a layover in the Gulf state's capital, Doha. However, I'd bet that many of them are unaware that they have the possibility of extending their layover up to 4 days and get the opportunity to explore the country. And that they can do that from as little as $14 extra on top of the cost of their flight. So in this video, I'm going to tell you about my experience flying Qatar Airways and using their stopover program to explore this up and coming country. Let's get right into it. If you're new here, my name is Jonny. I'm originally from the UK, but I've been living and working in Madrid in Spain for the past 5 years. On this channel, I talk a lot about living abroad, managing your money abroad, and also sharing some of my travel experiences. A lot of content is related to Spain, but I do travel outside as well, and I always love to share those experiences with you guys. So what's the story behind this layover in Qatar? Well, my wife and I recently got married, and we traveled on our honeymoon not so long ago. When we were discussing where to go for the honeymoon, my wife really wanted to go to Dubai. I'd been twice to Dubai already, and though I had no objection going to Dubai again, I did want to visit somewhere else in the Gulf and visit some other countries in that region. And so seeing that Qatar Airways had the stopover program and they had flights to Dubai from Doha, I proposed this to my wife that we make the extended stopover in Doha for a couple of days, see what it's like, and then we carry on our way to Dubai. And my wife agreed to it. And so what is this stopover program and how exactly does it work? Basically, if you go onto Qatar Airways' website, away from the regular page where you normally book flights, there is a page that you can click on and you'll be able to book through the stopover program your extended stay. How it works is you'll basically select your departure airport, so in our case this was Madrid, and your destination, which in our case was Dubai. Obviously, if we're flying with Qatar Airways, we can't fly direct from Madrid to Dubai. We'd have to make a stop in Doha. So in doing so, Qatar Airways would propose different options of flights for us to fly from Madrid to Dubai. And then on one of the legs, so either the outbound leg or the return leg of that trip, we were asked, how long would you like to stay in Doha? And so we decided on 2 days. And so essentially when we picked our flight onto Dubai, we picked it 2 days after our arrival date in Doha. After we'd done that, we had the option to select from a range of hotels where we'd like to stay. Hotels that are essentially partners with Qatar Airways and their travel program for the days that we were staying in Doha. And we're talking very good accommodation here at incredible prices. At the very low end, you're looking at 4-star hotels. That's as part of the standard option, which you can get from as little as $14 per night. And at the very top end, up to $76 per night for 4 nights. You also got premium beach and luxury hotels as well, with the luxury hotels obviously being at the top end of the range. And the cost per night in one of the luxury hotels works out at about $82 per night, which is still a really good deal. In our case, we went with the premium hotel, so that got us a 2-night stay in a 5-star hotel, which would work out at around $43 in total for those 2 nights. So imagine that you're staying in a 5-star hotel, and in addition to getting flights with Qatar Airways going to Dubai, you essentially just pay $43 or thereabouts, and you get to stay in a 5-star hotel for 2 nights in Doha. Don't know about you, but from my perspective, that's a really sweet deal. And so I'll tell you about the hotel in just a minute, but let me tell you about the experience flying with Qatar Airways as well. So we obviously arrived at Madrid for our flight, which left around 4 in the afternoon. Well, ended up being 5 because we had an hour delay. It was about a 6-hour, 15-minute flight to Doha. So taking into account the hour delay, we got into Doha around midnight local times, a 1-hour difference between Spain and Qatar on the clock. Though we flew in economy, the selection of entertainment in the flight in terms of films, TV shows was really good, and also the food was really good quality as well. So we had a full meal on both legs between Doha and Madrid because of the length of the flight, along with a snack. And then on the flights between Doha and Dubai, we had a snack which was like a chicken pastry. So it's more than the likes of British Airways offer on their 2-hour flights. They give you like just a little biscuit to get there. Boarding was really good. The staff were really friendly as well. So overall, very positive experience flying with Qatar Airways on all flights. Now, as you will be spending time in transiting through Hamad International Airport, which is the airport in Doha, it's worth knowing a little bit about the airport, how it is, and what to expect. What I can say is that this is probably the most modern airport I've been in to date. Everything is incredibly new, very clean as well. There's a lot of luxury stores in the airport. You'll see like a lot of designer brands have stores in Hamad International Airport where you can buy luxury goods. There's obviously like your duty free and gift shops as well, as one might expect. The airport is just one terminal, but it is a very big terminal, and it's worth keeping in mind as well that you might have your boarding gate either in the north or the south of the airport and you find yourself at the other end. In that case, you have a free like light rail system which will basically take you from the north to the south end of the airport and vice versa in about 2 minutes, which, you know, on foot would be about 10-15 minutes. So it's definitely worth keeping in mind and thinking about where your gate is when you're, you know, going between flights. Other cool things in the airport is that there's a big bear statue known as the Lamp Bear. It was done by a Swiss artist, if I'm not mistaken, and it sits there kind of in the middle of the airport. Good opportunity to get a photo next to. The other cool thing that the airport has to offer is the orchard, which is basically a big green space within the airport. Because it's still technically like indoors, it is still indoors and it's climatized, but you have like a lot of green plants, a lot of trees around you, and it almost takes you out of the mindset that you're in an airport because of how it feels just being in there and walking around there. It's very like peaceful and tranquilizing kind of being around that. So our experience in Qatar, starting with the hotel. So once we'd arrived, got through like security, picked up our bags and stuff, we hopped in a taxi at the airport. I would definitely recommend Kawa if you're looking to use taxis in Doha. This is an official service. You'll make sure that you're not overpaying, and the prices are really, really good as well. From the airport, you might pay a little bit more than you might expect to pay elsewhere, but you know, like a regular non-airport journey, I would say for like 10-15 minutes in the car, like we never spent more than 4 or 5 euros, which is like 15 to 20 Qatari riyals on a trip in the taxi. And so our hotel wasn't actually in Doha, it was in Lusail, which is the second biggest city in Qatar. You may recognize the name as well, as it's home to the Lusail Stadium, which hosted a lot of the World Cup football games back in 2022. Also home to the Lusail International Circuit, which hosts the Qatar Formula One Grand Prix every year. And so the name of the hotel was the Velero Hotel. Has a very unique design. You could see it kind of from the road, and even like from the plane, like you could spot it because it has such a unique design from the outside. As I say, 5-star hotel. So we get into the hotel, and so this is what our room looked like, which was really nice. You know, had a fantastic bathroom, nice comfortable space. We were given a king size bed on the second day. On the first day, for some reason they assigned us to you know, like 2 single beds, but then realized, you know, we were husband and wife, and so rectified that and moved us to a bigger room the following day. That didn't take away from the hotel experience. Nevertheless, you know, the rooms were really comfortable. In the first room we stayed in as well, had nice views from the 15th floor over to the stadium. And then the hotel had really good facilities as well. Given that we arrived like super late at midnight, I was quite hungry, so it was really handy to have like a 24/7 like mini supermarket downstairs. I say mini supermarket, kind of like a mini mall. Like it had multiple levels to it, which was open 24/7, and yeah, you could get food, snacks, whatever you're looking for in there, which was super convenient. Also had an outdoor pool, like a viewing terrace right next to the pool, a restaurant. We didn't try out the restaurant, unfortunately, and there was a gym as well. Definitely tried out the gym, and though it was small, it had a good range of equipment, so I was able to get like a decent workout in that gym, so very happy about that. The location was really convenient for visiting stuff in Lusail as well, which is what we did on the first day. So the first day we went to Place Vendôme, which is one of the main shopping malls in Qatar. Again, a lot of luxury stores in there, but you know, you got your normal shops there as well, and you've also got restaurants that have really nice food. There's like a fountain outside as well that I think lights up, and they have like water displays at night. We didn't see that because we went like in the afternoon, but still really nice fountain. After that, we visited the Pearl, which is like Qatar's answer to Dubai Marina in a sense. You know, it doesn't quite have the skyscrapers, but it does have a lot of residential buildings there, and it seemed to be where a lot of the expat community lived as well. We definitely noticed a lot more like Westerners in the Pearl area and walking around there too. In terms of what to do on the Pearl, it did seem like it was just kind of that, like residential areas. There's maybe 1 or 2 shops, restaurants and that. But I mean, apart from, you know, walking around and seeing the accommodation and stuff, it didn't really seem like there was much to do on the Pearl. But worth seeing, and perhaps if you're staying there as well in a hotel, then it might be, you know, a nice area to stay and see. And so then the second day, as we had our flight to Dubai, like in the early evening, was when we decided to go and explore Doha. Doha is about 15-20 minutes drive from Lusail, so not too far. And again, like with the taxi, you know, we still didn't pay that much to get there. I'd say like 30-35 Qatari riyals, around 10 euros maybe a bit less. And so in the short time we had, we first went to the National Museum of Qatar, which talks a lot about the country's history, which actually really surprised me as to how much history there is behind Qatar, from it having an economy that depended largely on pearl trade back in the day, to the discovery of oil, onto kind of Qatar's independence and how it nearly became part of the UAE, but in the end became an independent state, onto kind of what it is today, like the developing economy and coming to host the World Cup and all those kind of things. A lot of interesting artifacts, expositions in the museum worth seeing. You can also learn a lot about the wildlife in Qatar as well, because the Arabian oryx is like the national animal in a sense. If you look at the Qatar Airways logo, you see it's actually an oryx, and there's like oryx models in the museum as well, along with other famous like native animals to the area. If you're in Qatar as well, you have to experience the Souk Waqif, which is like a traditional Qatari or Middle Eastern like market where you've got gifts, souvenirs, spices, food, all these kind of things. We actually went when the market was largely closed because we went in the middle of the afternoon. It would appear that a lot of the stores kind of close around 12:30, 1 p.m. and then reopen around 4. So there's kind of this 3-hour window where it's not that busy. There are still stalls open, but there's not as many people there, and it's not like hustling and bustling. So actually for me, who doesn't really like to be in big crowds, that was kind of a good thing. But if you are looking for like a more lively time and to have more stores to explore and visit, then probably a good time to go is like first thing in the morning or in the evening, where there's going to be, everything open. And then we also visited the Corniche, which is like a little promenade that goes along the coast of Qatar. And one of the cool things to see there is kind of, you've got these little Qatari like fishing boats, traditional fishing boats, all harbored up on the shore, like next to the Corniche. But then on the other side, you can see a lot of the tall buildings, a lot of the skyscrapers of Doha's financial center. And it's such a massive contrast. It's almost like you can see the progression of Qatar from what it was historically into what it is today, all before your very eyes, and definitely like a photographic moment as well. So after watching this, you're interested in going to Qatar. You probably got questions about like travel tips and things to know about the culture, which I'm going to talk to you about a bit now. So obviously being in the Middle East, like it can get very hot. Like when we were there, it was like 40 degrees, like easily. And this was end of September. So probably like the best time to go is between like, November and, maybe February, March, where the temperatures are not going to be so extreme. Because honestly, I've been in hot weather, like living in Madrid, and haven't visited Dubai before, but this was just next level, honestly, like really, really hot. That said, and you might find this next tip being like a bit counterintuitive, but if you do go to Qatar while it's hot, make sure you actually take a jumper with you as well, because you'll go from like that 40-degree outside heat to stepping into a mall, a supermarket, a hotel reception, and the AC is like on full blast and it's like 18 degrees Celsius. And actually my wife and I, like we both got sick like the first few days because our bodies just weren't ready for such a great contrast between the heat and the cold. So silly as it may sound, take a jumper with you for when you're inside. The currency in Qatar is the Qatari Rial. So I'll put some exchange rates on the screen for you so you can see what it is in pounds, euros and dollars in terms of the exchange rate. The cost of things is fairly reasonable, I would say. Nothing is particularly expensive. As I say, taxis are very cheap, obviously because of the the high supply of oil in the country. But food at restaurants is reasonably priced. Supermarket prices might be a little bit higher than used to, but again, that might just be because my only experience of a supermarket was that mini mall in the hotel, which will obviously have a markup for the convenience factor. You can get around Qatar speaking English without any problem as well. There's actually a lot of immigrants and expats in the country, so a lot of people will speak to you in English first. Nevertheless, if you speak Arabic to a Qatari, they'll respond to you in Arabic, and they'll probably even like it as well. As with many countries in the Gulf, Qatar is a Muslim country, and that means that a lot of the law, traditions and customs are strongly influenced by Islam. Having been to Dubai, even knowing what to expect, I can definitely say that Qatar was more conservative than Dubai. For example, like in Dubai, I can walk around with shorts and a t-shirt and it's no problem. Whereas in Qatar, yes, I could wear a t-shirt, but I still had to keep my legs covered, like, either wear shorts below the knees or wear pants in my case. Because of the heat, I wore like smart joggers, which were very lightweight, went down to my ankles, and nice and comfortable. And then from the women's side, like my wife, she wore like long dresses that like went down to ankles basically. So yeah, it also means things like PDA in public is like a no-no. So if you're used to that, then obviously like avoid it whilst you're with your significant other in Qatar. In addition, something my wife pointed out to me as well is that when we were together and speaking to like a male shop assistant or taxi driver or at the hotel or whatever. Like the man typically spoke to me unless he really needed something from my wife. And when my wife was in the shop and speaking to like female shop assistants, like I was kind of there and my wife and the female shop assistants kind of spoke to each other. This is something that might be unexpected for someone from the West, but understanding, the Qatari culture a bit more and understanding like the religious influence, this is done as a thing of respect. So don't feel like you're being ignored or anything like that. Like it's just the culture in Qatar, and that's how respect is expressed to a man and a woman. And another observation I had about Qatar as well is that it was like incredibly clean, not even just inside like hotels, malls and everything, but like the streets were like spotless as well, like no dirt. I think they're like washed every night by like a truck that goes by with a hose and sprays the streets. It was really, really clean. Like I can't think of anywhere I've been like that has that level of cleanliness outside. It was like truly impressive. Alright guys, so that was my experience in Qatar. Honestly, really enjoyed it. Definitely recommend a visit if you're transiting through Qatar, or even if you want to stay in Qatar for like a longer period of time. It's definitely worth visiting. Like the country has a lot of history, is up and coming. Like some of the hotels and their facilities are fantastic as well. So from my perspective, Qatar, definitely worth visiting. Leave a comment and let me know if you've been to Qatar, if you're planning to go to Qatar, or you've used the stopover program there, and tell me about your experience. And if you liked this video and you want to see more on the channel, then be sure to check out some of my content on Spain and some of the content where I've traveled to other countries around the world as well. So next time, I'll see you on the next one, and let's get this money.